Hey everybody, Robert here. Thanks for checking out my channel again. So this week I'm going to answer the $1 million, okay, a lot less than that, the $100,000 or $50,000 question, which is where do I get my money for producing my films and where should you guys go to try to finance your movies? So it's going to be a little bit different. For me, I've been working with the same distributor for a long time. We have a great relationship. My movies, because of that, are financed primarily through what's called a pre-sale, which is exactly what it sounds like. I get the money to make the movie. Essentially, I sell the worldwide rights to get the money to make the movie before I shoot it, use said funds to shoot the movie. Once the movie comes to market, once all that, what's called an MG advance, minimum guarantee advance, is recouped, then I start enjoying what's a rev share. The distributor gets a percentage and I get a percentage for here to eternity, essentially. Well, 15 years is the terms of the licenses, but usually we relicense after that. And essentially, yeah, it's from here to eternity at that point. But when you're making your first movie, that's not going to be an option. I'm just going to tell you, unless you get incredibly lucky. It's going to be really hard to find a distributor who's going to be willing to put their money in you when you're a non-proven entity. So how do you do it? Well, there's a few different ways, okay? If you have a rich uncle, that's awesome. Maybe you know someone in your community, maybe you know somebody in your family, somewhere in your network who might be interested in independent film and might be willing to take, what is a sizable risk, particularly for a first-time filmmaker, in helping you make, see your vision come to life. It's not unheard of, and certainly that's what I did on the first movie that I made, is I found people who, were interested in what I was doing, who didn't have unrealistic expectations, and, certainly we didn't think we were making the next crazy independent flyaway like Blair Witch or something. We knew we had going into a very tough market with a little project, but we had a lot of passion and we all kind of believed in it. And luckily, I was able to get some financial assistance from them. Other things that you can consider, which, let's say you can't find that, is, you're part of what you're going to do is probably self-finance. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying, max out your credit cards or take out a crazy loan that you can't pay back or cash in your 401k, but my first movie, I think I saved up something like $6,000 or $7,000. And even though I had partners who were also helping with the hard cost, I was able to help as well. And it took me about 6 months to save that money. And thank God I did, because it really came in clutch when we needed it. Also, you can consider crowdfunds. Now, mileage varies on those. I used to do pretty well with them. I would get something like $5,000 or $6,000 per crowdfund. And that was great because it was $5,000 or $6,000 that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And again, that came in super clutch. The last couple of times I've tried it, it just hasn't worked. Now, I don't know if that's just me, but the interest has just kind of died out as far as, I don't know, maybe it's, I know that people have talked about how difficult crowdfunds are. When I did them, I didn't invest a lot of time in them. I would shoot a little promotional video, I would do a little interview, and that was pretty much it. Put the page up and just see what it does. I didn't hassle people online. I didn't spam a bunch of people. I just kind of put the word out. I have a pretty big Facebook following, so I just kind of put the word out and said, okay, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And, often with little effort, I would get a decent little bit of change on it. Another way to really approach it, I think, today is take advantage of things that weren't available to me when I started. My first movie we shot for like 30 grand. And at the time it was like, oh my God, how could you shoot a movie for 30 grand? Today, that's actually crazy enough. That's kind of less impressive. Because if it's your first movie and you're willing to kind of DIY, do everything yourself, except sound, get a good sound guy. Try, if you pay anyone, make it your sound guy, because God, that's going to bite you in the butt if you don't have good audio. You get an ADR, you have a camera with a mic mounted to your camera. Oh my gosh, you're just asking for hell on wheels when you get to post. I've talked about this little project Scene Walker that I made during the lockdown as kind of an example of what a young or any age aspiring first-time filmmaker could do. Because nobody was working, I called some friends. We went up to a mountain, I rented a cabin, and we shot a movie for pretty much nothing. I filmed it all myself. I filmed it with a GH5, a Ronin SC, and 2 little ring lights. And we made a cool movie that, it's not my best work, but it came to market. It did decently well. That's something that you could consider. I mean, that was probably $15,000 in hard costs. With modern tech, with how great mirrorless cameras are, budget cinema cameras, what have you. Something like a gimbal, which it doesn't really replace a dolly or a jib arm or anything like that, but it can simulate that pretty well. And the amount of cool shots you can get just running around with a little gimbal and a small camera, I mean, you'd be surprised. This just was something that really wasn't available when I started, when we were still using really big systems for really small movies, which is just counterintuitive for reasons I've already gone over in other videos if you're interested in watching. Basically go into it with the mindset that even if you're, let's say you're lucky and you're able to secure something like $15, $20, or $30,000, go into it with the mindset that you don't have any money, because you really don't. As I explained before, Murphy's always on the job. Something's always going to happen. Post-production's a whole big nightmare that you're not even going to be prepared for yet if you've never done it before. But keep in mind, like, shooting a film is half the battle, if that. I mean, post is huge. When I made my first movie, I didn't have enough money for post, and I made the, in hindsight, a pretty reckless decision. Well, let me just shoot the movie and I'll figure out post when I get there. It worked in my case because I was able to cut a trailer from the footage that I had, showed that to people. I was able to get a bit more support to finish my movie. Don't recommend that. Not the greatest idea in the world. But, in my case it worked. And if you have to, sometimes you gotta throw that Hail Mary pass. Plan on editing your movie yourself. If you've got a PC or a Mac laptop today, I mean, pretty much any modern computer can cut 4K video. And don't think about having all these external resources, people that are just going to be as dedicated to your little project as you are, or even close. If you're younger, and let's say you're in a film school environment, you have a major advantage over people that aren't. Number one, you have a resource to go to for crew. You've got friends, classmates who, you're at that stage where you can trade labor. You don't need to pay because you're working for them on their projects for free. They're doing it for you. They might be doing shorts and you're doing a feature, so maybe you'll do 3 shorts for them or whatever, but work it out with people. People often are excited to be a part of independent cinema. You have the idea that you're creating something from nothing and that you're giving people who've probably never done this before a chance to participate and take this journey with you. That goes for your cast as well. Like the film school that I went to, the community college that I went to, there was actually a theater department right across campus. So we were able to get actors from that theater department, and not everybody, but we got a decent amount. The reason was like, okay, I didn't have to pay them because they were getting the same thing that I was. I was a film student. I was learning how to make movies. They were actors learning their craft. So it was basically like an internship for both of us. And it wasn't, nobody felt exploited, at least I hope not, or anything like that. It was more just, I'm giving them a chance to act in a movie. They're giving me a chance, because of them, now I'm able to direct them in a movie, and, win-win type thing. Yeah, I mean, those are essentially your options for financing. It's never easy. It's probably the hardest part of movie making, but if you stay dedicated and you have a vision that you really believe in and you're passionate about it, you will find other people to share that vision with you. Put your presentation together as professionally as you can, even if you're a noob just starting out and you don't have much to show yet. Come up with a great pitch deck. And what a pitch deck is, essentially, it's a summary of your project. Show and don't tell. Use a lot of images, from other movies that might be similar in theme to your movies. You can tell. Really translate your idea to someone you're trying to get help you with your film, to say, one common thing is a show cross. And what a show cross is, like, it's this meets this. It's Pulp Fiction meets Texas Chainsaw or whatever. Let them make a picture in their mind very quickly, very easily, without having to read your script. Sending a 90-page script to someone and expecting them to read it if they don't know anything about your idea yet is a hard sell. Try to hook them in with the pitch deck and say, is this something you want to participate in? Another thing is, like, assigning a dollar amount to things that you can hopefully maybe get for free through volunteer labor. Maybe you can find some local sponsorship, a local pizza shop that's willing to cover a couple of your days when you have extras and you need food for them in exchange for a credit. You'd be surprised what you can get if you ask nicely, particularly if it's your first time. And you're not, if people think this is becoming a business model for you and you're doing it time and time again, you're never paying anybody, yeah, that's going to get old. But most of the country, with the exception of California and New York, and even in California and New York, probably outside of Los Angeles and New York City, it's still really exciting to be a part of a film, even if it's a tiny little project. So keep that in mind, guys. There's a lot of people that want to help you, and people are willing to sacrifice a lot to be a part of movies. Like I said, actors who need demo material, crew people that want to just get experience working on a movie. So don't be afraid to ask, don't be afraid to beg, and just like I said, just keep at it, believe in yourself and believe in your project. And when you believe in something strongly and you can honestly tell people this is something that I think has a future, that type of energy can become contagious. So there's always hope, there's always a way to get it done. All right, guys, short little video, but I just wanted to address that because I could make this 20 hours long and I would have the same exact answer for you. There is no magic formula. It's just have your vision, have a passion, and then look for help. in every form, financial help, labor, free pizza, whatever it might be. All right, guys, have a great one. I'll see you next week. Peace.